Well, hey folks, Pete here, and today I want to talk about something that I'm calling the tyranny of the awesome. It's this whole mindset that we have about how we have to play our very best round ever when we're playing a tournament. And I think that's kind of sabotaging our game. And hopefully we can reset some expectations right after the intro. Okay, here's a question for you. What if you got to play the USDGC? And I said, all you have to do is par every hole except for two. I need you to birdie 2 holes in the entire tournament. What would you say? Well, you'd say, hey, my name is Simon Lizotte, and that's exactly what I did last tournament, and I still cashed. Now, that's MPO, that's the top of the top. Granted, there were 107 players, and he came in 23rd, shooting 2 down for the entire tournament. So, I mean, it wasn't, Anthony shot a minus 31, but even that, 31, if you divide it by 4 days, it's like 7.6. We've got this birdie madness that we think birdie or die. And we'll watch YouTube tournaments and people will just be birdieing here and there. We're seeing the top cards and we're seeing a lot of birdies. And we're thinking, that's what I've got to do. I've got a birdie. I've got a birdie. I've just got a birdie or die. But the truth of the matter is, if you will just play for par and avoid blowing up, if you can avoid the bogeys, the double bogeys and worse, you're actually going to put yourself in a very good position to maybe even win. And that's what we don't understand, is we've decided that we have to play our best tournament ever, our best round ever when we're playing a tournament. And really the best thing you can do is try to mitigate the blow-ups. And we're going to talk about it as I take you around on the course. Yeah, let's dive into it. Okay, I'm at hole number 1 at Inverness, and we had a couple months ago, we had the Mega Bowl here, and I've actually done a little follow-up of that where I've double bogeyed this very first hole, and it kind of set me on a little bit of a tilt. And we're going to talk about, especially, I was able to recover some. I had set my expectations for basically bogeying hole 1 and hole 2, and I double bogeyed hole 1, and I parred hole 2, so I was kind of back settled. But then I messed up on hole number 7, and it set me on this again, because in my mind, even though I knew better, I started thinking, I've got a birdie, I've got a birdie, and so I started pushing, and it actually led me to mess up even more on hole number 8. But we're going to talk about that as we get there. But this is what I want to talk to you about is, especially if you're going to go play a tournament, go look at the past tournaments and see what the scores were like, because it might be enlightening to you. The gist of it is the scores are a lot lower than you would think, because it's tournament time and we get tight. And so one of the rounds out here was the MA 55s, and I'm using them because I'm 55 and most of y'all aren't necessarily going to be playing pro. I played the MP 50s, but what we're going to do is I'm using them as an example because I think it's a good slice of what's going on here. And this is what I want to get across to you. So in the MA 55s, it's a blend of both the long and the short. So let's face it, the longs are a booger. But this was a blend, 9 long, 9 short. And the number 1 score for that group, the MA 55s, was 10 over. So if you had decided before you ever came out and played in that group that I can par 9 of the holes and bogey 9 of the holes, you would have had the best score. You would have won the day by just doing that. That's a lot different than thinking, I've got to just clobber this course. Suddenly you're like, man, let me sit here and think about what I need to do. And let's piece this course out and figure out where I can push and where I can play smart. And so what we're going to do today is I'm just going to play this course and show you, we're going to play for par with just a birdie. It's not about distance, it's about smartness. And I've talked to you about this before. Having the right expectations makes all the difference. It's when we start pushing that we get in trouble. So here we go. I'll talk more as we go along. But the big takeaway, if you turn off now, which some of y'all will, is we want to mitigate the blow-ups. Heck, on hole number 7, in this group alone, the group that played, now there were only 6 in this division, but there was 1 bogey, 2 double bogeys, and 3 triple bogeys, I think. So bogey won the division for hole number 7. It's really about having the right expectations, and if you can avoid just messing stuff up, you're going to do well in most of the tournaments. Most of the people you play with, they're trying to do the same thing, and you're all tight like this, so screw-ups and blow-ups are going to happen. So if you can make the least amount of mistakes, not the greatest shots in the world, but the least amount of mistakes, you're probably going to do really well. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to break this hole down. Anytime I'm playing from the shorts, I'm going to play for par. If I'm playing from the blues, the longer tee pad, I'm going to play for bogey. And let's see how we do, okay? I'm just going to throw these so that I'm not pushing distance. I'm going to throw this about 200 feet max, and we're just going to divide this hole up and play it smart, each hole. And we're going to talk about how you can do that. You can come out and practice, and you can figure out where you need to be so that you can play smart and hopefully avoid the blow-ups. All right, so all I'm going to do with this one, number one, is notorious for killing people for having them go out of bounds. You start out the tournament out of bounds once or twice, and everything feels like death. So what we want to do on this very first hole to be smart is we could even maybe switch this and say, I could take a bogey on here and be fine. And there are a couple blue baskets like hole number 3 that I don't necessarily have to push for a bogey. It's easy to get a par on that one. So we may even do that. So plan to have on the first hole, because you're tight, you're probably going to bogey it. But we can do it smartly. I'm just going to go try to get to the top of the hill and land right in the middle, because it's more important for me to get to a good spot for my next throw than to try to push it and go out of bounds. The only way you could birdie this hole from here is I'm either going to throw a great shot down the line, 275 feet, I think. Just miss that tree. Don't go out of bounds. Don't hit the hill and roll out of bounds, and slide up near the basket so I can make a decent putt. Or I've got to make a long putt. The number of birdies on this hole versus the number of bogeys, double bogeys, etc. is vastly different. So if I can just play for par, or heck, even bogey, I'm going to do okay on this hole. So now I'm just going to throw it right up to the middle, top of the road. Stepped right out of the car, first throw, and I almost threw it a little bit too much to the right, but I think I'm safe, so let's go play. That's almost a good representation of how it is. Step up at that first hole. Boy, it's tight when you step up to that very first throw, isn't it? So you want to take those things in consideration. Go ahead and program in, you're probably not going to play this hole great, so that it doesn't wreck the rest of your round, because you've already given yourself the grace of not doing it perfectly. Okay, I must have hit a rock or something. I'm right in the middle, but I threw that maybe 175 feet. But now I've got almost the exact same second throw to get to the basket. I've eliminated all the danger of this stuff over here. And now all I've got to do is throw it to the basket. So now I step up. And even with a little pull, I tend to be pulling to the right a little bit today. Oh, that's good to know. I am up by the basket in 2. I can 2-putt from there and still be fine with the bogey. Ideally, I make this putt for a par, but I didn't stress. I didn't push. I wasn't trying to throw my hardest. As a matter of fact, I was throwing 65% maybe, just keeping it smooth, keeping it smart down the middle. So here's the thing. I set the expectation for bogey on this hole. So if I make a par, how am I feeling? I'm feeling great, because I actually did one better. I've got an extra stroke in my pocket that I didn't have to use then. So now I'm going, whew, I made it past the first hole, and I'm breathing a little bit better, feeling a little bit like, okay, I can do this. Because let's face it, most of the time you're playing a course, hopefully that you've played several times before, and you know where all the pitfalls are and stuff, and you know hole number 1 here is a big gotcha, so you got by it. It's the mental spiral that gets you in trouble. It's all of a sudden you say, I have to push, I have to score, that tightens us up, and we start getting a little crazy. All right, so this one is simply, I just need to throw it down the middle. It's gonna be the theme for today. I don't have to push. I don't have to try to get to the basket. Remember, I'm just trying to get pars on these holes. So I'm breaking it up into 2 good throws. It's only 250 feet, so if I throw 175, 200 feet, I've got an easy approach shot. So I'm not gonna have to go all the way for the basket. Now you can if you've got it, but you don't have to. You wanna play smart. Let other people go bouncing off into the woods while you're just right down the middle. It'll drive them crazy, and that'll get in their heads too. On this hole, you want to think, where are my misses? Where should I be if I make a mistake? You'd rather be up on the left than down on the right. So if you're going to miss, as long as you don't hit this first tree, anything that goes a little bit left is okay. Anything that goes right can get you in trouble. So you want to play smart, you want to play smooth. So I made sure that I just threw a hyzer. If I was going for the basket, I would probably try to do a little flex forehand. But the danger there is if I get it wrong, it's fading off down the hill. And the only OB, it's a good distance away, but there is OB to the right. So I'm taking out as many variables as possible for me to screw up. I know I'm gonna screw up, but how can I screw up with the least damage? And so I threw over here. It was a little tight inside, not a big deal, because I've got room over here to play. And even because of the terrain of the hill, the slope of the hill, anything that comes on the left may even pick up a little bit and push back to the right. So coming over to the left side allows me to have a better access to the basket. Now the big question is, how smart can I be with this approach shot? The basket's right there, and we could go straight at it, or we can go over to the left. Remember, terrain's doing this kind of stuff to it. So I think for me, if I throw directly at the basket, and it lands by the basket, it's gonna wanna hop down that way. Whereas if I come out here to the right, even with my tentative throw, I was using the hill. It was the bigger opening here. It was a smarter play to go there because any misses are gonna carry it to the basket. Whereas if I go directly at it, my misses are gonna take me even farther down the hill. So now, I haven't thrown farther than 200 feet yet, and in the first 2 holes, I've made pars. I'm right on the money. And remember, if we're thinking about the MA55s, I've got 9 strokes to play with, 9 bogeys I can get, and still be in the lead. So what does that do to your freedom of play? Hopefully, you're gonna have a different mindset of, I've got a bag of bogeys that I can reach into when I need to. Otherwise, I'm just playing for par. I'm not gonna push for birdies. And it's gonna make it so that you're not gonna take that long, tough putt that's gonna end up having your disc roll away and you're gonna go from a birdie to a double bogey. So, yeah, knowing what the expectations are and taking it and lowering it to reality is really gonna help your game, I think. Okay, so we're still on the short tee pads, but most people, even, you know, it's hard to get a birdie on this one, full stop. You gotta have a great throw to get up there by the basket. So especially throwing a berg, I'm just going, and this is where I think most people should work on this hole, is just throw to the ditch down there and then work on your upshot. So I'm just trying to throw this about 200 feet, just past that pine tree down there. Right down the middle. Unless you've got enough power to get up the hill and get to the basket, and even if you do, there's so many trees, roots, and stuff that rolls away. Birdie is tough on this one. I'd almost rather take my chances with being down at the bottom of the hill and a good throw up to the basket than trying to push it and maybe get a ricochet into deep woods, because you don't want to be on the right. This is all jail. I'd rather be on the left, But even that can get you in trouble because of the slope of the hill on your next shot. So listen, par on this all day long is going to get you strokes because so many people are going to bogey and double bogey this hole. And this is not even one of the long ones. So if you can just throw down to this ditch and then do an upshot and get close to the basket. This is why I emphasize 150 feet and in, be deadly, and you're going to get strokes. Now the tree's a little bit in my way, but I've been doing hoop practice, so I just take this, and with the elevation, I got to throw it higher than I think because we've got a good 30-foot rise. I'm throwing it in my miss. I'm aiming a little bit left of the basket because of the slope of the hill. I want it to land left of the basket because it's going to carry it back to the basket. The other thing, think about the stress management. You only have so much stress you want to carry through a round. So the less stress you can carry, the better. I played 3 holes with a berg, not pushing it at all, throwing maybe 200 feet. A little bit more because of the downhill carry on that last one, and I've par, par, par. But Pete, why aren't you going for it? You're going to need to get some birdies. It depends on the division. It depends on what you need to do. That's why I'm saying you need to check what the tournament was like in the past couple years to get a decent idea of the base level of what you need to play. And then doing a realistic assessment of your game. You know, if you normally shoot on a regular round out here from the greens, let's say you shoot a 7 over. Well, that's just a regular round without tournament stress. You're probably not going to shoot 7 over on a tournament round. You need to add a few more strokes. But that way, if you do shoot your normal round, you're feeling great. You're feeling extra great because you've superseded your expectations instead of the other where you've put high expectations and then you kind of crap the bed and you feel terrible. So finally, we're at a blue tee pad, but this one actually is almost the exact same distance as the red tee pad. But you've got to go through these trees. Now we call this hole Crazy Eights because Michael Johansson, the legend, took an 8 on this hole from this tee pad. And so you can't take it for granted, but that was kind of an aberration. But so we just want to play smart here. But this is one where we should take a 3 on it, even though it's a long tee pad. So hopefully we take a par on this and we've got an extra bogey to give away later if we need to. I just need to get through those trees. Just right down the middle. Remember, I'm throwing bare minimum in some ways to show you that you don't have to be an amazing driver of the disc with distance or whatever. But if you will just, how about not blind you with the sun? If you will just play smart right down the middle for this course, you know, each course varies, but you can do really well out here. That's why I play a lot of one disc rounds out here, because it's asking for control, not power. So now here's where we go in tournament play. This is where Michael Johansson, he hit trees early, then laid up here, and he went for it here and missed the basket and went down into death and had to really struggle to get back through the trees and back up. So if I'm playing league or something, I may think about going for this, but I just need to make bogey or better here. So I'm not going to push it because of the drop off behind it. I'm just going to lay up all day long right by the basket. Unless my drive parked by the basket, I'm laying up almost no matter where it is around here because of the danger of the rollaways and the sailing down into death. So I've already eliminated a lot of angst from making choices like, oh, should I run it, should I not? I've already set in my mind, I'm gonna be perfectly happy with the 3. As a matter of fact, I just gained a stroke on what my expectations are for the course. Does that make sense? I'm 9 bogeys to play with, and that was a blue hole. So I should have bogeyed it in the math that I've done. So the fact that I parred it means I've got an extra bogey in my bag that I hadn't planned for. I have not done anything amazing. I've done very boring throws, and yet I am on pace to just be playing my game, to play well. I'm putting myself in an MA 55 position, and how would it go? Now here, we're on another blue tee, and things can get a little dicey here. We've got big elevation change, drop down there, and so if you hit early trees, you can go back into the woods over there, and you really got to scramble. This one definitely, you want to say, I may get a bogey on this one, and be okay with it. So the biggest thing you want to do is piece this apart. I want to just get down the hill to the middle so that then I've got an easier approach shot that hopefully I can do 1, 2, in for par. I'm not going for birdie here. I can, but I don't have to. I just need to make a smooth throw. Just down the middle. I missed the main trees here. I thought I was going to hit that tree down there, but that would have been fine. I'm in great shape. I didn't go for a birdie run, but I went for the straight, smooth run to put me in good place. Good place. That was good English. But let's face it, when you're playing for par versus playing for birdie, your aiming lines, your throw lines change. I wasn't trying to do that perfect little down the hill and let it flex back to the right. I'm just throwing down to a safe spot, and then I'll play from there. It should change your mindset, but also free you up to throw a little easier. Remember, I've set the stage that I should bogey this hole. So I've just got to get there in 3 shots, which takes a lot of the pressure off. So I can just come up and just throw a freer approach shot, because even if I leave it a little short or hit the trees by it, I've still got 2 throws to play with to be within my game. Hopefully this is all making sense. And so then let's say you do leave it a little short and you miss that putt and you got a bogey. Well, you're still on track. You're actually, remember, you had an extra bogey that you've got to play with back there that's in the bag. Well, the fact that I just took a birdie there means that I have 2 bogeys in my bag that I can play with. I'm building up extra space, extra grace in my game, so that if something goes wrong later, I'm not in the hole. I'm feeling, even though I'm just shooting par, I'm feeling 2 strokes ahead of the game. And that's a much better place to feel when you're out on a tournament. Okay, we're playing to the, where the other basket is, there's just a PVC pipe there, so we'll have to pretend. But all we're gonna do is make sure we don't land in the road and throw too far over into the river. This is one that you can kind of run at as long as you keep it over to the right, because if you're a little short, the fence stops you, and you're not gonna, if you choose the right disc, you're not gonna go too far. I'm gonna play, remember, I'm playing the safest thing possible. You, if your game is a little bit better or whatever, you can go for it. I'm just trying to play for par. I'm not even trying to play for birdie for here. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw it down here, and I'm gonna aim at the fence. Matter of fact, to be extra safe, I'm gonna throw a forehand so that it will not carry over to the left into the road. If I go right, the fence is gonna stop anything that goes too far. Yes, in one sense, that's a very sad little cheesy throw. But in another sense, anybody can do that. That's what I'm trying to say is, you can do that and still play well. Smarter, smarter. My goal with this is to encourage you that if I play and I'm throwing 150 foot, 200 foot shots, if you've got 225, you're already ahead of the game, distance-wise. You can go a little bit farther, but you don't have to. Okay, so now we've got our first little tricky, sort of tricky shot, because look what we've done. We've put ourselves behind the fence. So we can either jump putt, we can thumber, or I just like to throw a little flippy forehand. This one is a short tee, so it's a par 3. So we want to, you know, there is the other side of it. If we play smart and then we do something goofy, like throw it into the fence, hit the top of the fence and go into the road, we're kind of like, oh, that stinks. But remember, we have 2 bogeys in the bag that we didn't expect up to this point. So we've kind of got 2 to play with for just such a scenario like that where you blow up. So here's the basket, boom. Let's say I miss it, it goes down the hill. I 2-putt here instead of hitting the fence. I'm still just back to my normal range. You see what I'm saying? We're playing with house money when we set the line right for ourselves. Suddenly the expectation is different and it frees us up to play so much better. Tight, stressed muscles don't throw the disc well. Relaxed muscles throw smoothly, hopefully. Okay, so now here's one of the big dogs. This is hole number 6 that gets so many people in trouble. And remember, it's a blue tee, so we're playing for bogey. Right now, I parred everything, so I've got 2 extra strokes to play with that I didn't bank on, and we might need to use it here if we don't play smart and we don't execute. We've got to make it through that gap, or if you've got a little bit bigger arm, I prefer going up and over the trees just to make sure I get into the middle of the field out there. But not everybody does. Remember, we're playing MA 55. I want to start thinking for our older players beyond MA 55 and all that. So I'm just going to try to throw right out in the middle into the grass. I'm not going for it. I only got 200 something feet with this, so I just got a smooth one through that gap. I got a little laissez-faire with that throw and caught a little bit of ninja branch as it went through, but I think hopefully I made it across. The good news is, hasn't been a lot of water, so as long as I didn't get buried in the bush, I should be okay. But remember, we've got a couple strokes to play with, so all is not lost if I do make this shot. And believe me, so many people shank this shot. This hole number 1, hole number 6, hole number 7 are 3 of the biggest gotcha holes out here. So if you can plan to get through them slightly scratched up instead of blowing up, you're going to be okay. Okay, worst case scenario, but perfect illustration. That's one of the reasons why I like to go up and around, because I clipped a limb and it dropped perfectly surrounded by water. But this is not a time to freak out, because remember, we're playing our game. We're anticipating messing up. The biggest thing, the biggest challenge is how do you deal with adversity? It's easy when you're just playing and you're just parring, throwing it right down the middle. But what about now? Well, so bringing it out of the water, I'm going to bring it back between me and the basket so that I have a better shot, because it's just jungle over there. So I've got to line up. I cannot be out of bounds. Because of those overhanging little ninja branches, I don't want to be up close because I could hit one of those. So I want to give myself freedom to swing. So now I'm back here. And the biggest thing I can do is take a breath. If something like that happens, we feel the card is watching us. We've got a limited amount of time, we know. And so we start hurrying, we start pushing. You've seen it on camera in the tour. These guys start to push and they stress and they rush and they compound problems. I'm throwing 3, so I'm just going to throw this into the grass because I'd planned for bogey. I had a couple extra. I'm probably going to get a double on this one because I threw it in the water. Heck, I could have even, smarter play would be to lay up the first shot to make sure I didn't hit that and then throw the second one a little bit farther and take the outright bogey. But here we go. Now, I've just got to get it. I'm not going to try to get all the way to the basket because that would put bogey, OB into play once again. I'm just going to play smart. and I still hit. You can't see these limbs. As a matter of fact, I couldn't until I hit it. I thought I'd made a good throw through, but look, you see these guys are invisible from a distance, and I caught this guy right here just enough that it knocked it down. Welcome to disc golf. There's going to be a hole. Hopefully it's only one that kind of reaches out and grabs you. So I'm lying 3, throwing 4. So I've made 2 midland throws. Haven't been great. So I need to make sure that I readjust. And what's the biggest thing I need to do? I need to make sure that I commit through the throw. I also should have brought a towel. But so I just need to, I'm not great footing here, so I need to be smart. If I do this wrong, I can yank over into the creek. As a matter of fact, I'm going to switch to a forehand so that I don't have to worry about that weight transfer as much. I'm going to sacrifice a little distance, but hopefully it's going to be a safer play. So now I'm lying, that was my 4th shot. I'm putting for a 5 or a double. If I had pushed earlier, I would feel horrible on this hole. It doesn't feel great. It never feels great. But the fact that I played smart up into this hole makes this hole hurt less than if I'd already had a couple mistakes behind me. And the good news is, because I've been playing well, I know hopefully I can make up a few strokes on the other side without pushing. And let's face it, I didn't get close enough where this is a gimme putt. So I'm probably going to miss it, and I'm going to reenact as if I missed it. Yep. So what happened here? I took a triple on this hole. That's how easy it can happen. When you've got OB and you've got trees and you've got woods, stuff can happen. So now I am 3 over par through 6 holes. But I've played 3 longs and 3 shorts. So I should be 3 over par. Because remember, I'm giving myself a bogey on each hole. You see how that works? You see how suddenly you can go, okay, I'm not dead. I'm actually right where I need to be. I'd like to be better, because we always want to be better, but I'm not dead. And this is hole number 7. Remember, I told you that on this hole, it's a par 4. Only one person got a bogey, then there were 2 double bogeys, and then there are 3 triple bogeys. So if I can just get a bogey on this hole, I'm taking a lot of strokes on the rest of the field, except for one guy, and hopefully that's me. This is hole number 1, hole number 6, hole number 7, and sort of hole number 8 and 11. There are a couple holes out here that can really get you. The rest of them you can play pretty smooth, but this one, because we're playing long and it's a booger, we've got to throw decent. I've got to get up, I want to try to get to where the tree is, top of the hill, but I've got to throw right down the middle. Yep, that's smooth. 175, maybe 200. I don't even think it was 200, but that's what I'm trying to show you. I'm not trying to cheat by overpowering these things and push farther. I'm trying to show you that even if you've got limited distance, you can work it. But we're definitely gonna have to work on this hole, because if I'm throwing 200 feet, it's gonna take 3 throws just to get near for an approach shot. So I'm gonna have to throw the same thing. And the problem is, because I didn't quite get to the top of the hill, I'm throwing on a bit of an upslope. So I need to be very smart with this next throw. And if you don't get in the middle, you get knocked off, you're gonna have to burn one of your bogeys in your bag probably and just toss out, so that you don't compound the problem and spend 3 strokes in the woods instead of 1 to get out. So once again, with this slope, I'm gonna go forehand. And this is where hopefully you have more than just a berg, so that you've got a little bit better forehand disc. But I'm just gonna throw, just miss this big pine tree and fall into the middle of the road, hopefully. A whopping 150 feet, maybe. But Once again, I'm in the middle. I'm playing smart. I'm missing the problems. And then if you can throw a little farther than I can with these shots, hopefully you're gonna get a little bit closer. So the tee pad for the short is right here, and most of us play that one the most often, so we know that throw. So now I'm lying 2, but it's like I'm up ahead. It's kind of like I sawed off and hit first available tree, and I'm still going for that basket, and it's a par 3. I just need to make a good upshot. Remember, we're playing this one as a par 4, and we're playing for a 5. So we've got 3 shots from here. We're in good shape. Should be doable, hopefully. So now I've got a little bit better footing. I can swing a little freer, but I need to curl it around this way, and the ground slopes this way. Once again, if I had a different disc, this would be a no-brainer to throw a forehand. But because I'm limited on my disc selection here, I'm gonna throw a backhand. But this is very doable from this area here, especially with a good backhand and a good disc. I mean, a good forehand and a good stable disc. All right, got a good shot. But do you see, I just cut this hole up into very manageable bite-sized pieces and didn't ask my body or my skill level to do too much, to push beyond what I'm comfortable doing. And that's what we're trying to do out here, especially during tournaments. Push it during leagues, push it during when you're having fun. Raise your ceiling then, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid crashing through the floor. Okay, so realistically, most folks probably aren't gonna get this close on their 3rd shot from back there. Oops, I missed the putt, or they're gonna do something like that. So I went from par to bogey. That's what we were aiming for. You know, I had a little bit of wiggle room there. I threw out very good 3rd shot, so I didn't want to par it because that would put some unnecessary pressure on folks that think, oh, I've got to par it. No, remember, we planned for bogey there. So right now, we finished that one, and we're still right on track because we are 4 over with 4 of the blues that we've played. We're really just keeping track of how many blue tee pads we have and how many bogeys we have to match up with those blue tee pads. So here's the thing, when I played that in the tournament, I had a weird, funky tree kick. It was a beautiful throw, and it just did something weird and put me in a tough spot, and I pressed. And I tried to make the hero shot, and I ended up taking a double bogey on that hole, just because I pressed. And so what happens is I step up to this hole with that double bogey in my head. Remember, now I've had 2 double bogeys. I'm trying to shoot par, and I'm 4 over. So what do I think? I've got to get this one. And so we got to make it out here. And what do? I grip lock it right into that tree. It wasn't terrible, but it was just enough that I pulled it to the right, hit the tree, and went deep into the trees over here, where all I could do was throw out of the trees just by the tee pad, short tee pad. I'm lying 2, throwing 3, and I'm like, I've got to be the hero now. And so I try to get a hero shot up the hill, catch a limb up high. I mean, both times, all my throws were just slightly off, but it was enough. I hit a branch and buried into the trees again, and I took a double on this, so I went double-double. There were 3 holes that blew me up out here, and that hole number 7 was just a little bit of a fluke, but it set me up that I was in the wrong mind space here, and I pushed, and it hurt me. Fortunately, after I hit that 2nd double, I woke up and went, you big dummy, just play your game. And I played out, I got 1 more birdie, I got a birdie, and I parred out the rest of the round and settled down. And I still shot the 3rd best round out here for our division. But it was because I pushed instead of playing smart, instead of going, okay, you just messed up that last hole, but you don't need to push, just play smart. And so all we're gonna do is try to get down the middle. All we need to do is get down the middle. I would have loved to get over the hill, but that's not where a lot of people are gonna be because you need a little bit more power. So I'm just putting it into the middle which is a great place for just about anybody to throw from the long pads. Because let's face it, you hit this, you go here, or you go here, it's just death. But knowing I didn't have to get over the hill meant I didn't have to throw as hard. And as you power up, you tense up usually, and that's when things get tight and you start pulling off line. Where knowing that I just had my eyes, target fixation on the middle of this hill right here, and could just throw an easy shot right to it, it was a much easier thing to do, to carry off. So now, because we're playing for the top of the hill, and I didn't get far enough where I can really make it up the hill, I'm pinched off a little bit, I need to play smart. Well, I've played a million times to that blue basket, and that's where a lot of my shots will make it on the short tee pad, or if I get a really good long tee pad shot with my regular drivers. So I'm really just aiming to get just to the left of that blue basket there to have a good upshot. Remember, this is a par 4, and it's blue, so we're giving us a 5 on this. Well, we're at 1 here. I just need 4 shots to get up and around in the basket. So I'm taking this guy. And I'm just throwing it. It hit a little bit higher up the hill and then bounced back and almost went under the basket. But that's perfectly fine. I'm taking bite-sized chunks. I'm not trying to go for it like I did in the tournament. I tried to go all the way up, hero shot, top of the hill, and ended up buried down in there. And yeah, I just looked at myself and said, you know better, Pete. But hopefully I'm showing you simple shots win the day. I'm sitting here in 2. I need 3 strokes to be on target for this hole. So anything better than that is gravy. I know anything beyond that big tree there is going to get close to the basket. So my biggest goal right here is to miss that tree and just get up in the gap. I can either go this big gap or that big gap. This is the bigger gap to the left, so I'm just going to take this, throw it right down the middle of the gap. Even if I don't curl it right under the basket, I'm still lying 3 with 2 strokes to play with. I can't emphasize enough how freeing that is. Because if you keep playing like this over and over again, you're going to build that confidence that you can play safe and smart, and it will give you the floor, raise the floor, so that when you go for stuff and you miss, it's not as tragic. You're developing smart calluses to your brain and your game, if that makes sense. I happen to get right by the basket, so I got a par. I wasn't even trying that hard. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, granted, I've got a good forehand approach shot, so let's say you didn't get that close. You got a 5. You are still, we've played how many blue tee pads? 5. We're how many over par? 5. We're right on track. And remember, we're right on track to win the tournament here. The guy who won shot 10 over. So we are currently on pace to win, even with that crazy hole number 6, because we've done the math, we've looked at what it takes, and we've set our goal to be reasonable, but also it's 1 stroke better than what the winner did. I hope that's making sense. I want to take some of the pressure off, because man, we're a ball of nerves when we get out on tournaments and stuff like that. And if we will just be smarter and play within our game, I think we're going to do a lot better. We'll leave the pushing to salt and pepper. Oh, I am singing it now. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, join with me. Push it real good. Ooh, baby, baby. So this is going to be the last hole of this series, because it would be incredibly too long if I did the whole 18. But if you want me to do the back 9 and keep walking through this very same thing, I will do another video to follow this up, but you got to leave it in the comments and let me know. So we're back to a short tee pad, simple par 3 up there, but there's still danger here. You've got to get through the gap. I don't have to hit a hole-in-one on this one. I just need to try to get up to the middle of that hill, so I've got an easy approach shot to the top of the basket. The thing is, if I try to go for an ace, I can catch these trees early, go over here if I'm pushing it. Now, if your game is good enough and you feel comfortable, sure, go for it, because this would be one that you could make up some strokes if you needed to. But remember, I'm playing base level here. I'm trying to show you all it takes to make a par. So I'm just going to take and simply throw this right through this gap. You can do forehand or backhand. As a matter of fact, the smarter play, I want to throw a forehand because of the spin of the disc. If I hit a tree early, I want the disc to be pushing to the right instead of hitting the tree, backhand spin this way, hits a tree and goes down to the creek, because there's OB and there's just death and rodents of unusual size down there, and we don't want to go down there. So my smarter play, even though I won't probably get all the way to the basket, and I'm not really trying to, I'm just trying to get, I'm really aiming at those two trees right there with a forehand, and hopefully it's going to fade just to the right of that. But this is a smarter play. Just get through the gap. And even if I'd hit one of those trees later, I would have still been in good position to have a fairly easy approach shot. And hey, I got far enough up that I can give it a half run, because remember, you've been working on your approach shot, your flick putt, your hoop stuff, and so now you've got to look at the basket on a hill, so you're coming from down below, you can give it a good run and not go blowing too far by it. So this is a win-win. Even though you didn't park it under the basket, you're still going to give yourself a look. Ish. Of course, there's a tree right there. But remember, we've got the flick putt. Here I know I'm just going to run at it, and if I miss, it's just going to plop behind it. Or you don't give it quite enough and you just hit the basket and it drops right by it. Okay, so here's the wrap up. Whenever you're going to play a tournament, go back and look at the stats from before. Figure out how the scores were playing out for your division. And heck, you probably know a lot of the people in there, so you know, man, yeah, he played out of his mind. He's not going to do that again, or he played a little bit lower. You can kind of adjust, you know, how were the scores? Were they down a little bit? Were they up a little bit? And then figure out how you play and figure out that sweet spot that you want to give yourself a realistic parameter of how you can shoot, but also that takes away some of that pressure that you have to shoot the best round ever. You don't have to shoot the best round ever. You just want to play the smartest round ever. That's a lot different. That means that you're putting less pressure on being dead on the money, and you've already mapped out everything ahead of time, so you're taking away a lot of the pressure and you're just playing smart. And you even know what to do when things go wrong, is take your medicine, take the stroke, because you've already built in a little cushion knowing that it's going to happen. And that way you're playing with less stress, less pressure. Let's not get caught up in the tyranny of the awesome, thinking we've got to birdie every hole, we've got to play our best round ever to win. When the truth of the matter is, most of the time, as long as you can avoid double and triple bogeys, you can, if not win, you can score very well. So there you go. I hope that encouraged you. Ask me some questions about this. I'm noodling this thing over, but I think so many of us are thinking we've got to play better than we have to when it comes to tournaments and even leagues. There have been times, I don't keep track of scores when we're playing leagues or whatever, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just not playing that great, and all of a sudden I'll get at the end of the round and like I've won. I'm like, how did that happen? It's just because I didn't screw up. And we don't want to target fixate on don't screw up, but we want to target fixate on we don't have to score perfectly. And I think that's important, because when we think we have to be perfect, we know that's unattainable, and we either freak out or we give up. And so I hope that encourages you. I hope that you love this game as much as I do. It's just such a wonderful game, and tournaments can be a wonderful part of it, but it could also be one of these great life lessons, helping us to become better players, but also hopefully teaching us how to become better people, because we're managing expectations and understanding ourselves a little bit better. So now I hope that helps. Go out there and love somebody, hug on them, go play with somebody and be their friend today out on the course, and talk more about them than you talk about your game or yourself. Anyway, there you go. Guys, thank you so much, and I hope to see you out on the course.